My tablet trembled in my hands as Devon cut across my words for what felt like the 100th time that day. What Autumn means to convey, he announced with practiced authority, is that we need to reassess our customer acquisition expenses. Let's put the details aside for now. The conference room buzzed with approving murmurs. Not a single person seemed to notice what had just occurred. Once again, my voice had been buried beneath someone else's interpretation. I had invested 3 exhausting weeks perfecting these financial projections, countless late nights, forgotten meals, and deep database analysis to craft the exact monetary strategy that could rescue our failing company. Yet my research remained unheard, dismissed without consideration. Under my presentation notes, I quietly added another mark: 17 interruptions across 90 minutes. My male coworkers, 0 interruptions. When our CEO revealed that our potential $80 million investor would join the following week's call, I reached a turning point. That evening, I researched state recording laws. Single-party consent, completely legal. The next morning, I arrived early, positioned my phone strategically, activated the recording application, and prepared for what would become the most pivotal meeting of my professional life. What unfolded that day didn't just transform my career, it revolutionized how an entire company operated. This isn't merely a story about getting even. It's about fighting for justice in a system designed to diminish voices like mine. If you've ever been spoken over, dismissed, or watched someone else receive credit for your innovations, you'll understand exactly why this matters. Stay with me until the end, because what happened next surprised everyone involved, including myself. I'm Autumn Kelly, a financial strategist holding a master's degree in economics with a decade of experience transforming struggling businesses into profitable enterprises. My previous company generated triple returns for investors through my revenue diversification framework. I don't simply work with numbers, I identify patterns that others overlook. 6 months before that recorded meeting, that changed everything. DataStream recruited me. This promising technology startup had developed AI-powered analytics solutions for medium-sized businesses. While their product was outstanding, their financial approach was catastrophic, rapidly depleting seed capital, consistently missing revenue goals, and repeatedly delaying their Series B funding. CEO Ellis Grant convinced me to join with guarantees of independence and meaningful impact. Your expertise is precisely what we require, he assured me during our interview. We want you to completely overhaul our monetization approach. I believed his promises and left a stable position to embrace this opportunity because I recognized DataStream's tremendous potential. Initially, everything seemed encouraging. During my onboarding phase, colleagues listened attentively, documented my observations about inefficiencies, and appeared receptive to my insights. This changed dramatically once I transitioned from theoretical recommendations to practical implementation. During my first comprehensive strategy presentation at our weekly leadership meeting, I noticed something troubling. Every time I reached a critical point, someone would interrupt. Let's revisit that later. We should address more pressing matters first. That's intriguing, but perhaps too ambitious for our current stage. Initially, I questioned my own approach. Was my communication unclear? Too passive? Was I overwhelming them with information? I modified my style, simplified presentations, and practiced delivery extensively. Nothing improved. 3 months in, I began systematically documenting every interruption. The pattern became disturbingly clear. While my male colleagues averaged 0 to 2 interruptions per presentation, mine consistently reached double digits. The primary culprits were Devon Marsh as marketing director, Wyatt Jennings as CTO, and occasionally Ellis himself. What made this situation even more frustrating was watching them implement fragments of my strategies piecemeal, often after one of them repackaged my concepts weeks later. The company continued struggling because they were only using portions of the comprehensive system I had designed. I attempted direct communication. After one particularly exasperating meeting, I approached Devon professionally and said, I noticed you interrupted my presentation multiple times today. I'd appreciate the opportunity to complete my thoughts before opening discussions. Devon looked confused, then dismissively amused. Did I? I don't believe so. I was simply trying to maintain our schedule. These meetings often run over, yet 30 minutes earlier, he had spoken uninterrupted for 15 minutes about marketing. Concepts barely related to our quarterly objectives. I tried various approaches, speaking more assertively, distributing materials beforehand, requesting dedicated presentation time from Ellis. Nothing worked. The interruptions actually increased. The breaking point arrived during my quarterly forecast presentation. After 17 interruptions, nobody in that room had heard my complete analysis. The projections I had spent 3 weeks perfecting were dismissed without proper evaluation. We were 3 weeks away from our final pitch to secure $80 million in funding, money the company desperately needed, and the leadership team was ignoring crucial financial insights. That night, sleep eluded me. DataStream possessed enormous potential, but without proper financial strategy, it would collapse within months. This transcended my personal frustration. It concerned the company's survival and the livelihoods of our 67 employees. I researched recording laws in our state, confirming single-party consent was legal. I didn't intend to share the recording publicly. I simply needed concrete evidence to demonstrate this pattern. When I eventually addressed it with Ellis or the board, the next morning brought nervous energy to our conference room. The $80 million investment would either save us or effectively end the company. Ellis fidgeted with his tie while others rehearsed talking points. When investor Preston Hull appeared on our video call, introductions commenced. Preston was renowned for his directness and impatience with inefficiency. His venture capital firm had backed some of the decade's most successful technology companies. "Let's begin," he said after brief pleasantries. "I've reviewed your previous materials, but I want current updates." Ellis delivered his standard company overview, followed by Wyatt's product development summary. Both spoke without interruption. Then Ellis introduced me and said, "Now Autumn will provide our financial overview." I began my presentation, conscious of the recording app running. "Thank you. I've prepared an analysis of our current financial position and projections based on the strategy I've been developing." 3 slides in, Devin leaned forward and said, "Sorry to interrupt, but your projections seem optimistic given last quarter's performance. We should probably focus on more conservative estimates." 2 minutes later, Wyatt interrupted by saying, "I think we should address technical infrastructure costs before discussing revenue streams. Those numbers won't make sense otherwise." As I approached the most crucial part of my presentation, our product director attempted the third interruption and said if I could add something about our user growth that might impact these numbers. Then something extraordinary happened. Preston cleared his throat and said, "I notice a pattern developing here." Silence filled the room. "Your financial strategist has been interrupted 3 times in under 10 minutes. I've been counting." His gaze swept across everyone's faces on the video call. "This reminds me of our previous meetings. This is exactly why we're reconsidering our position with DataStream." Nobody breathed. Ellis visibly paled. When organizations silence their most valuable voices, they miss critical insights. Preston continued, "I specifically requested Miss Kelly's involvement in these meetings after learning she was the architect behind Tech Venture's remarkable turnaround last year. That's why I was concerned when she barely spoke during our last 2 calls." My heart pounded as I realized what was happening. I'd like to hear Miss Kelly's complete financial strategy without interruption. Afterward, I'd like to understand why this pattern of silencing exists at DataStream. Ellis stammered, "Of course, absolutely. Please continue, Autumn." For the next 20 minutes, I presented my complete financial strategy for the first time. I outlined inefficiencies in our current model, necessary targeted changes, and projected outcomes. I explained how we could triple revenue within 18 months while reducing operational costs by 23%. When I finished, Preston nodded thoughtfully and said, "That's precisely the strategic thinking I expected." Now, Ellis, would you care to explain why this is the first time I'm hearing this comprehensive approach? Miss Kelly has been with you for 6 months. Ellis struggled to respond. We've been implementing elements of Autumn's strategy progressively. There are many voices to consider, and some voices apparently matter more than others. Preston interrupted. Here's my position, Preston announced. DataStream has excellent technology but deeply flawed leadership dynamics. I'm prepared to offer the full $80 million investment with conditions. Everyone waited tensely. First, Miss Kelly becomes Chief Strategy Officer with direct reporting to me, not filtered through your current structure. Second, your leadership team undergoes communication and inclusion training with quarterly assessments. Third, you implement her full strategy as presented today, not piecemeal. Ellis nodded rapidly, relief washing over his face at the prospect of securing funding. I'm not finished, Preston said. I'm also appointing Miss Kelly to our advisory board. We've needed her perspective across our portfolio. This position comes with its own compensation package, separate from her role at DataStream. I sat stunned. This exceeded anything I could have imagined. Not only validation but promotion, direct access to the investor, and an independent role providing security regardless of what happened at DataStream. Does that arrangement work for you, Miss Kelly? Preston asked, finding my voice. I replied, yes, I believe in DataStream's potential, and I'm committed to seeing my strategy successfully implemented. Excellent. My team will draw up the paperwork. I expect it signed by end of day tomorrow. After the call ended, the conference room remained silent. Ellis finally spoke, his voice strained, and said, Autumn, congratulations on your promotion. We'll need to discuss transitioning your responsibilities. Devin and Wyatt couldn't meet my eyes. The recording device was still capturing every awkward second of the aftermath. 30 minutes later, Ellis knocked on my door. I want to apologize for any miscommunications that may have occurred. We value your contributions enormously. I'm curious, he said, leaning forward. Was this something you discussed with Preston beforehand? No. I was as surprised as everyone else. He nodded slowly. The recording device on your phone during the meeting. My heartbeat quickened. He'd noticed. Single-party consent is legal in this state, Ellis. I've been documenting the interruption pattern for months with no acknowledgement. The recording was for my personal reference. Are you planning to use this recording somehow? That depends entirely on what happens next, I said calmly. I came to DataStream because I believe in its potential. I still do, but I need space to implement the strategies I was hired to create. 6 months after that recorded meeting, DataStream had completely transformed. We weren't just surviving, we were thriving. Customer retention improved by 16%, acquisition costs decreased by 22%, and our runway extended significantly. The company culture shifted too. Meeting protocols now included designated presentation time free from interruptions, and the leadership team expanded to include more diverse voices. Devin eventually became a strong partner in implementing our marketing strategy. Wyatt took longer to adapt, but ultimately thrived when given clear technical direction aligned with business goals. My dual roles as CSO and advisory board member opened unexpected doors. Other companies in Preston's portfolio sought my consultation. Industry publications requested interviews about our turnaround strategy. I was invited to speak at conferences about financial leadership. The recording that started everything remained securely stored but unused. Its existence had served its purpose without ever needing to be played. True vindication came during our annual investor meeting, exactly 1 year after that pivotal recorded call. I presented our results to stakeholders, including Preston and several new potential investors. Under Autumn's strategic direction, Ellis explained, DataStream has increased revenue by 67% year-over-year while decreasing operational costs by 31%. Our customer base has grown by 43% with improved retention metrics across all segments. After the meeting, Preston pulled me aside and said, I've been watching your work across our portfolio companies. The advisory role has been valuable, but I think we can do more. He offered me a managing partnership in a new venture capital fund focused on undervalued companies with strong technical foundations but flawed strategic execution, exactly my specialty. In my final week at DataStream, Ellis organized a company celebration. During his speech, he said something that resonated deeply. Sometimes the most valuable thing we can do as leaders is recognize when we need to listen instead of speak. Autumn taught us that lesson, and DataStream is stronger for it. That evening, alone in the conference room where everything began, I took out my phone and located the audio file. After a moment's reflection, I deleted it. The evidence was no longer necessary. The results spoke for themselves. As I stepped into my new role at the venture fund, I carried the most valuable lesson from my DataStream experience. True power isn't about silencing others or speaking loudest. It's about creating environments where every valuable voice can be heard. In the 2 years since, our fund has invested in 27 companies with particular focus on those with diverse leadership teams. Our returns have consistently outperformed industry averages. It turns out that funding companies that listen to all their best minds isn't just ethically sound, it's financially shrewd. I still have the notebook where I tallied those 17 interruptions. It sits on my desk as a reminder of where this journey began. When evaluating potential investments, I observe meeting dynamics, watching for who speaks and who gets silenced. It's become one of our most reliable indicators of a company's potential. The recording may be gone, but its impact remains in my career, in data streams transform culture, and in every investment decision I now influence. If you've ever been interrupted, overlooked, or had your ideas attributed to someone else, I hope this story reminds you that your voice matters. Your ideas deserve to be heard completely, not just in fragments between interruptions. Have you experienced something similar in your workplace? What strategies helped you navigate it? Share your stories in the comments below. Your experiences might help someone else currently struggling to be heard. If this resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe for more stories about workplace dynamics and professional growth. Every like helps this reach someone who might need to hear it today. Remember that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do isn't speaking louder, but documenting carefully. Your evidence becomes your advocate when you finally get the chance to be heard.